If you look closely, you'll see more than just ancient relics with a vacant stare. When placed in the proper hands, the mask turns into magic.
I find a lot of Larry's technique is to reach in and touch that element of us that we're not aware of.
Really blows the kids away. They just love watching this. Larry has a lot of him in every mask, and every mask has a part of them and him. It kind of integrates. He becomes the mask.
Although he's used to getting loads of praise and lots of earnest questions, go ahead and call Larry Hunt of Bethlehem two-faced, and he'd find it nothing short of a compliment. In fact, this man of 1,000 faces is best recognized as one of the leading mask artists on the planet.
Well, did you know that we're not the only mask makers in the world? People all over the world have been making and performing with masks as far back as people can remember.
But don't ever expect to see a textbook, especially when Larry talks to kids. Instead, with the zeal of Clark Kent when the world's in a panic, our masked superhero transforms himself instantly into dozens of originally conceived characters.
Masks seem to cross barriers, cross age lines and social lines and all lines, because people can subject so much information onto the masks. They talk about the fourth wall in regular theater. There's an invisible wall between the stage and the audience, and in my medium it's just totally justified and practically necessary to break it all the time.
What began as a straightforward career as a stage actor, Larry's interest in movement, mime, and a desire to create his own material eventually led to his first contact with the art of the mask.
And I've been wanting to create my own material for a long time. I just didn't know how to do it, and I've been dabbling with writing plays or scenes, and with the masks, it just opened doors of perception. I just made a literal decision if I was going to stay in theater, which is a tough business anyway, and if I wanted to be an artist, and I hadn't considered myself an artist up to that point, masks were a way to go. And I got play. I started teaching myself how to sculpt, and I started researching masks, and I've been doing that for the last 23 years.
The result is his long-running one-man company he simply calls Mask, featuring dozens of ensemble players. Over the years, he's developed a repertoire of unique plays and performance pieces in which his characters appear, stories geared for a range of audiences and ages, including this recent production of Animan at the Essex Elementary School.
He doesn't just perform for children. He gets behind the art itself, and he tells some of the artist's secrets.
And that tape is covering a little piece of wood that I attached on the inside of my mask. So all I have to do, actually, is just grab that tape and piece of wood with my teeth. This style of mask is logically called a bite mask. Ow. Delicious, too.
I love the way he pushes the limits. When he was a lemur, he was pushing the envelope. And adults have problems with that sometimes, but the children love it. They love to see an adult use their imagination like that, because they think we've all lost it in some way or another.
Not unlike the mask-influenced characters created by Chaplin, Jim Carrey, and even Robin Williams, Larry's craft has likewise been motivated by more than just getting a laugh. Larry shapes his characters by investigating and drawing from cultures with deep mask traditions. Add to that a background in the puppetry arts he acquired at UConn's famed program, and the results are like nothing you've ever seen. Perhaps the most unappreciated and misunderstood disciplines of the theater arts, masks date back to our earliest roots, playing a vital role in our intellectual development and belief systems.
throughout history, I believe that the mask and later the puppet, an extension of the mask, became both our gods and our devils in the early histories of humankind. Now, with the work that Larry does, he is taking that element of illusion that was so rich in the earliest days and tickling our own imaginations, the way that we as an audience see him. We tend to feel that we're a more sophisticated, educated audience. But I find a lot of Larry's technique is to reach in and touch that element of us that we're not aware of, that makes us believe in his character before we, as cognitive creatures, are ready to believe in it.
So much of Larry's magic happens on the road, with tours to China, the Caribbean, Australia, and of course throughout the United States. But the process of creating these unique characters often takes place close to home, with a memory that takes shape with a handful of clay.
I do this so it doesn't dry out too fast, so it doesn't crack. The next step is to pour plaster over this, and then I have to dig the clay out. When I was in the 7th grade, I was out with a friend with a BB gun out in the woods in Montana, and a snowy owl came along, and we ended up killing this owl with a BB gun. It was torture. It was awful, and I felt awful doing it, and I've had tremendous guilt ever since. It was kind of a turning point in as I grew up a hunter in Montana. But this was a waste, and it also had a partner, and the partner, it showed me a tremendous relationship that animals have, on an emotional level, and I don't think we think about that enough. What I've created is this movement piece that deals with the hunter, and this is the hunter, and this on the top. If you look at it from the top, it's an owl image with the eyes and the owl. And this will be covered with feathers and probably a leather helmet.
Once a new character is permanently cast, Larry begins his unique collaborative process.
I was working with him in clay, down on the table like this, and then I sculpted it and put my material over the top of the clay. When that dried, I picked it up, dug all the clay out, and then I put the mask on my arm, and I started moving it around like a puppet. And that's when I discovered all kinds of emotions and attitudes in the mask that I had no idea were there.
I think that virtually every puppet or mask that we put on tends to tell a story. Even the simplest of puppets has something that it wants to say. We try to control it, but I've got to say that as Larry discovers in his masks, as we discover with our puppets, sometimes we'll spend weeks, months building a figure for a specific intent, and finally get to moving it and realize that it doesn't want to do that. So that message that we bring to the audience sometimes is not just the creator's intent. It's a collaborative vision that comes from the creator and the creative.
Larry's own evolution as an artist reveals his great faith in the power of these inanimate objects to influence our culture. His masks and stories invoke universal questions that all of us have, questions about who we are and about responsibilities we have as members of society. Ultimately, Larry proves that a mask reveals far more than it could ever hope to hide.
The mask works on two levels. First it hides, and then it reveals. So what hides is your own personality. And, so when we're out in public, we have this demeanor, this image that we maintain. And it's really hard to break that and do and say exactly what you might feel or have impulse to do.
Oh, no. Mike.
With the mask, your ego and your personality is covered up. So that allows freedom to express other things.
Larry Hunt is as much of a master teacher as he is performer, offering valuable lessons about art and about life.
It might be extinct in its natural habitat. So I have two styles here.
But his real magic has little to do with clever tricks up his sleeve. The real secret and success of Mask is how one man's imagination and flair for the theatrical can remain so intimate and completely genuine.
Things we fear, we tend to destroy. And that's no good. Just no good. Okay, well, it's getting kind of late, so I'm going to skedaddle on out of here. But I'll tell you what, if you guys ever want to sneak up on me again sometime, it's okay with me. I'd like that. So until then, I will see you later. Arrivederci. Goodbye.